Good evening. This is Viewpoint. My name is Chetanya Singh. As you can possibly tell from the screen behind me, today we are looking at the issue of one nation, one poll. This afternoon, the Law Commission met to finalize its report on a highly contentious issue. This is an issue, remember, where we've seen much debate, much back and forth over the last few years. Now, one nation, one poll, essentially state and national level elections taking place at the same time. We've heard regional parties in particular come out vociferously against this idea. They've said that such an idea would put any national party to great advantage. Now, this afternoon, our reporters told us that the Law Commission, in their meeting, declared that they were close to submitting a final report and that they are very much in favor of the idea of implementing this across the country. Now, the time the Law Commission is right now taking is just to discuss what kind of constitutional amendments will be needed to make this a reality. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look on Viewpoint. We're going to be trying to understand every perspective on this issue. One nation, one poll. Is it actually feasible? Let's take a look.
Now this commission will definitely look after the issue of one nation, one election, because multiple election involve lots of money, and because every time India is in election mode, development suffered a lot.
All right, let's go over first to all of our panelists for today. I'm going to introduce you to them and then we're going to go over to them with questions. First, we have Siddharth Yadav. He's a spokesperson for the BJP. Now, we also have Chetanya Singh, a spokesperson for the NCP, but it's important to point out the Ajit Pawar-led faction that has just joined hands with the BJP. We also have Salem Dharanidharan, a spokesperson for the DMK. Good evening, gentlemen, to all of you. Thank you for joining us here on CNN News 18. I want to take our first question actually to the DMK spokesperson. So, Salem Dharanidharan, sir, I'm going to come over to you first with a question. So, I'm coming to you first to ask you our opening question, because today what we learned from the Law Commission was that while it was seemingly in favor of one nation, one poll, they are going to take a few more days, a few more meetings to understand how to do this constitutionally. Because as expert after expert has already pointed out, this is going to need at least 5 constitutional amendments. Sir, I want to ask you, one of the major apprehensions of the opposition has always been this takes too many changes to the constitution, to the fundamental structure of the country. Sir, I want to ask you, since the Law Commission is saying we're going to take care of that, we're going to look to do it in a proper manner, does that in any way comfort the fears of the DMK?
See, the primary question is, why we are opposing this is that one nation, one election is a horrendous idea. It's a tyranny of democracy. It paves way for toppling of state governments, so on and so forth. Since independence, I think from 1950s until 67 or 65, we've been having parallel elections for state governments as well as for the union government. Why was this practice stopped? Only because some state governments lost confidence, some state governments were toppled, so that required elections, interim elections, right? So now what happens? Let's say you have one election for all the state governments as well as for the union government. After a year, let's say the union government loses confidence. So are you going to conduct elections for all the states together? Then what happens with regional parties that are voted by the people? What happens with a 5-year mandate? Or let me go and say that after 2 years, let's say a non-BJP ruled state government is toppled. So what happens for the remaining 3 years? Will you have elections? Or will you, in the back door, allow the president to rule? Again, it's a tyranny of democracy. We have seen in the last 8-9 years under BJP how many non-BJP ruled governments have been toppled, right? We have, the opposition, the India Alliance is a victim of that. So many of our alliance partners, governments have been toppled. So you will topple the government and then president will rule from the back door. So this is why we are opposing this idea. So whatever Law Commission says, again, it's cumbersome, it requires time. But even having said all that, our fact is that this is against the principles of democracy. this goes against the wishes of the people of India, because state governments, right, they are important. Health, education, those are concurrent list. People depend on the state government for most of the services, right? And when you have both these elections together, what actually happens is that party which has a lot of resources, in this case BJP, gains to win because they can go and campaign all over the country. And apart from that, the elections and research, I've also studied a lot of research papers on this subject. In Italy also, in several countries in Europe also try to do the same. And then the research clearly says, when you have election for, let's say, for a union government as well as a state government together, election which is more salient gets prominence, which means that
Correct.
In this case, national issues, not the local issues. So the issues of the people of a particular state tend to get ignored. So these are the issues. So when this system is functioning really well, why do you want to bring this one nation, one election? What is this thing with this oneness with everything, one language,
let me just take a question to you, and then I want to go over to the other panelists that are with us. Sir, sometimes experts point to examples like Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, examples where elections in the state and national elections have taken place at the same time, and you've still had state parties win, to counter the point that you just made. So to that, what would you argue?
No, see, some state elections have been happening parallelly. I understand that. But what we are trying to say is, this is not feasible. What happens, let's say, after 3.5 years, a state government loses confidence. So 1.5 years, will you have president's rule? Or will you have an election? But again, if you have an election for 1.5 years, then again this loss to the exchequer, state exchequer.
Sir, I totally agree that those are very, very important questions. Correct. So just stay with us for a second. I want to now go over to the other panelists that we have with us right now. I want to go over to Chetanya Singh. Mr. Singh, I'm coming over to you because you represent a regional party, but your party is one that has joined hands with the BJP. Giving our audiences that context, I now want to take to you the question. The DMK spokesperson had brought up that one of the key issues with ONOP is this idea that the federal structure of the country will essentially get lost. The federal structure was one that was put forth to counter any kind of concentration of power taking place in the center. And now by introducing this, you're essentially giving a huge leg up. And, the DMK is correct when they say this. There are a number of statistics that show that when elections take place, unfortunately, especially if you've got a party as big as the BJP or the Congress, they are going to have the might of numbers, the might of their national budgets to support them even in state elections. So to that, what do you have to say?
Look, my friend has, like my friend from DMK was rightly saying, the first 4 elections, 51, 52, 57, 62 and 67, were held simultaneously. All the state assemblies and the Lok Sabha went to elections together. Post that, due to some hung assemblies, etc., the practice of simultaneous elections was not able to be continued. Does one nation, one election implementation of the same have a lot of challenges? Yes, it does. But the benefits of the one nation, one elections far outweigh the challenges, the issues, the problems that come along with it. Approximately 60,000 crore rupees was spent in the 2019 elections alone. Just imagine the kind of money that is being spent on elections alone. What if this money could be used for the benefit of people at large? A lot of schemes, etc., could be passed. If a pill is bitter, that does not mean that we're not going to swallow it. Okay, yes, we also...
Sir, one second. I want you to answer, sir, specifically that question of disadvantage to regional parties, because you do come from a regional party, sir. I want you to tell me.
I personally don't think that there is going to be any disadvantage as such. Yes, we are of the party, the senior leaders of the party have always maintained the stand that all the stakeholders must be taken into consideration. It does require 5 constitutional amendments. The Law Commission in its report in 2019 has itself said that it will be require the ratification of at least 50% of the states. So all that is there. But as I said, and I'm repeating myself again, the benefits of one nation, one election far outweigh the challenges.
Sir, I just want to take it back to that point. When you're going to have national party budgets going up against state parties, is your party not at all worried about that?
The party is only interested in the welfare of Maharashtra, welfare of the people of Maharashtra, and welfare of the people of this country.
Okay.
And whatever challenges that may come in their way, they will overcome it. Like I said earlier, there are challenges. Everybody is denying that there are challenges. There are several stakeholders. There are 29 states. Right. There are several